Barron Trump's defining moment, the speech that rocked the Global Innovation Summit, began with a question. If you were the son of one of the most powerful men in the world, what would you do? Would you live a life of luxury? Follow the well-trodden path laid out for you? Or would you dare to step away from it all to discover who you truly are? Barron Trump, the youngest son of former U.S. President Donald Trump, chose a path no one expected. At 18, when the world assumed he would follow in his family's business and political footsteps, Barron disappeared from the public eye. No personal entourage, no inherited privileges, no spotlight. He left everything behind with only a backpack and the courage to start from scratch. What no one saw coming was that this seemingly reckless decision would completely redefine his life and force the global community to see him in an entirely new light. Rejected by the established elite, humiliated by harsh media critiques, and pushed to the brink of failure, Barron Trump faced challenges he never imagined. There were moments when he nearly gave up, but in his darkest hours he discovered a strength within himself that even he had not known existed, and then he made a decision that no one dared to expect, a decision that could change an entire generation. What did he do? How did he transform from a privileged outcast into a global inspiration? Stay until the end to witness this unbelievable journey. This opening is designed to grip the audience from the very first second. Barron Trump was born carrying a name heavier than most. As the youngest son of one of the most powerful men in America, he grew up knowing his life would always be under a gilded microscope. While his peers spent their afternoons playing in the parks of New York, Barron's evenings were filled with endless strategy sessions at the family's luxurious estate, constant media scrutiny, and paparazzi flashes capturing his every move. To the world, his life appeared glamorous. In reality, it felt like a gilded cage. Every aspect of Barron's life was meticulously planned. His education, his diet, even his social interactions were orchestrated to maintain the impeccable Trump legacy. He couldn't wander the city without being followed by security. He couldn't enjoy a simple meal without a team monitoring him, and, most painfully, he was never allowed to err. "You must always be the symbol of our legacy," his mother Melania Trump once told him in a gentle yet commanding tone. "But, Mom, what if I don't want to be that symbol?" Barron asked, frustration seeping into his voice. She studied him intently before offering a bittersweet smile. "That isn't your choice, Barron. Our family's legacy is a burden and a privilege, and you carry it whether you like it or not." Those words haunted him for years. The pressure to live up to the Trump name wasn't just imposed by his family, it was demanded by the world. Though he had never publicly spoken out, the media had always fixated on him. Every detail, how he dressed, his posture, even his fleeting moments of solitude was dissected and turned into headlines. A single photo of him looking down in thought became a front-page story. Barron Trump looks lost among the glitz. Another time, simply not smiling at a charity event earned him the label, the cold Trump kid. But what pained Barron the most wasn't the relentless scrutiny. It was the isolation. He had no one to truly confide in. The people around him were either hired protectors, strategic advisors, or those with hidden agendas. And even his school friends, though well-meaning, always left him wondering who cared for him beyond his famous surname. Once he overheard classmates discussing him in the hallway. "Do you think he's ever really done anything on his own? He probably never even carries his own backpack." One snickered. "Yeah, he'll always live off his dad's legacy. He'll never know real life." Barron stood frozen, the words echoing in his mind for days. For the first time, he asked himself, who am I if I'm not defined as Donald Trump's son? Do I have a value beyond my family name? On his 18th birthday, his father hosted a lavish celebration at one of Manhattan's most exclusive venues. Influential entrepreneurs, top investors, and media moguls filled the room. Barron sat among them, surrounded by wealth and influence, yet feeling like an outsider. After the party, his father pulled him aside. "Son, I've arranged meetings with top investors. They're eager to discuss your future in the family business," Donald Trump said, his voice firm and expectant. Barron's heart pounded as he struggled to speak. "Dad, what if I don't want to follow the same path? I want to find my own way." The air between them thickened as his father's steely gaze locked onto him. "Do you really think you have any other option?" Donald Trump asked, his tone dismissive. Barron inhaled sharply. "I want to discover who I am on my own, not just live in your shadow." For a long moment, his father said nothing before chuckling softly, his expression unreadable. "Then go ahead. But remember this, Barron, if you leave this world of privilege, the real one won't be as forgiving as our world." Barron didn't argue. Deep down, he had already made up his mind. He couldn't live under constant scrutiny. He needed to see what the world outside his family's empire was really like. He needed to learn who he truly was without the Trump legacy defining him. That night, Barron gazed out from the penthouse window at the vast New York skyline. The glittering city lights stretched endlessly, promising countless possibilities. No security detail, no paparazzi flashes, no predetermined path. Tomorrow he would leave. No one could have foreseen that this decision would lead him on the hardest journey of his life. A journey filled with failure, rejection, and hardship, but also one that would ultimately set him free. His true story was only just beginning. Barron quietly packed a few essentials into a backpack. It wasn't much, some cash, a few humble outfits, and a worn notebook. He knew he couldn't use his credit cards or leave a digital trail, for if his family discovered his plans, they would stop him at all costs. That night, he slipped away from the estate through a little-known exit, evading the ever-watchful eyes of his security detail. The streets of Washington, D.C. glowed under the soft luminescence of street lamps. But inside, Barron felt nothing but uncertainty. He had no clear destination, only one resolve. He had to leave. After a long, sleepless night riding on a cross-country bus, Barron arrived in New York City. The city of dreams and relentless hustle. This time, there were no motorcades, no limousines waiting. He was just another 18-year-old blending into the throng, unnoticed, unrecognized. With the cash he carried, he rented a modest apartment in Brooklyn, a cramped space with peeling walls and a creaky bed. But for the first time, he felt a glimmer of freedom. Yet, freedom came at a steep price. Within weeks, Barron confronted the brutal reality. Life beyond privilege was harsher than he had imagined. With no prior work experience, he faced rejection after rejection. He once tried working as a barista at a small cafe, but after a single mishap that resulted in a spilled espresso, he was dismissed in 3 days. His funds dwindled rapidly, and he soon realized he risked losing everything. One late night, while sitting alone in a quiet park, watching the city pulse with life, his phone rang from an unknown number. Hesitantly, he answered. "Is this Barron Trump?" The voice on the other end was calm and measured. Barron's heart skipped a beat. Since leaving, he had taken every precaution to hide his identity, yet someone had found him. "Who is this?" he asked. "We represent an international organization that empowers young innovators to challenge the status quo," the voice replied, pausing to gauge Barron's reaction. "Ooh, we have an offer for you." Barron frowned. Part of him wanted to hang up immediately. He had been exploited too many times for his name. But the desperation in his situation compelled him to listen. "We know you left behind a life of privilege to forge your own path," the voice continued. And we want to give you a genuine chance to do that." "What kind of chance?" Baron asked warily. "You'll join a program, not a reality show or entertainment, but a real-life challenge. You'll be sent to a place where no one knows who you are. You'll have to work, survive, and build your life without any of your past advantages." Baron was silent. This was exactly the test he craved, a proving ground to see if he could stand on his own. "Why should I trust you?" he asked sharply. The voice chuckled lightly. "You don't have to trust us now, but you need an opportunity, and we're offering you one." 3 days later, Baron stood before an aging building in Manhattan. His heart pounded as he stepped inside to join a group of other young challengers. A middle-aged man with silver hair introduced himself. "I'm Daniel Carter, the director of this program." Baron shook his hand, sensing the steady resolve in his grip. "So, how does this work?" he inquired. Daniel smiled. "You'll be taken to a remote location where you must secure a job, support yourself, and survive without any of your former privileges. You start with only $100 and an old flip phone. No backup, no connections. If you want to succeed, you must build everything from scratch." Baron's pulse raced. This was the challenge he had been waiting for, a test of true self-reliance. He nodded firmly. "I accept." Daniel's smile grew. "You have 2 hours to pack. After that, we depart." Baron turned away with newfound determination. He had no idea what lay ahead, but one thing was certain: this was his ultimate test. He joined 3 other participants in the back of an old truck, each with no clue of their destination, their identities concealed. Among them was Alex, a resourceful young man who had once survived the streets; Sophia, a resilient girl from a hard-working immigrant family; and Rai, a brilliant dropout chasing a dream. None knew who Baron truly was, and that anonymity was exactly what he wanted. The truck eventually halted in a small Midwestern town. Daniel Carter stepped out and handed each participant an envelope. "Inside, you'll find $100 in cash, a basic flip phone with no internet, and a list of local jobs you can apply for," he explained. "You'll have no external support, only your wits. You must find shelter, secure a job, and support yourself for 3 months. We'll check in weekly, but aside from that, you're on your own." Baron opened his envelope, feeling the paper money through his fingers. This was all he had now. "Every dollar counts," Daniel added. "Your experience here will shape not only your life but could inspire others." It wasn't long before Baron discovered that the real world was unyielding. He began his job search at a modest roadside diner. The owner, a gruff middle-aged man, scrutinized him. "Do you have any experience?" he asked. Baron hesitated. He had none. Though he could debate global economics, he had never waited tables. The owner shook his head. "No experience, no references. Sorry, kid, I can't hire you." Rejection stung deeply. Determined, Baron spent the entire day knocking on doors of cafes, grocery stores, and gas stations, anywhere that might take him in. The responses were uniformly dismissive. "We're not hiring right now. We only hire experienced people." As dusk fell and the cold bit through his thin jacket, Baron slumped onto a bench in the town square, overwhelmed by the reality that his name meant nothing here. He remembered his father's words on his 18th birthday. "Step out into the world, but know it won't always be kind." He had been right. But Baron wasn't ready to surrender. He resolved to try again, changing his approach. Returning to the same diner the next morning, he confronted the owner again. "I know you rejected me yesterday, but I don't need a salary. I just need a chance to prove I can learn." The owner eyed him skeptically. "No pay? You think this is charity?" Baron replied, voice firm. "I just want to show I can do the work. If after a week you decide I'm not good enough, you can fire me. But if I do well, I deserve a shot." After a tense pause, the owner relented. "Fine. 1 week, but mess up once and you're done." Over the next days, Barron immersed himself in the work. He scrubbed tables, washed dishes, and cleaned floors. He stumbled at first, spilling drinks, misreading orders, but he learned from each error. By week's end, the owner, Margaret, called him in. "You've done better than I expected," she said, a note of approval in her tone. "Do you want to stay on permanently?" Barron nodded, a sense of pride warming him. It wasn't a grand triumph, but it was proof he could forge his own path. Yet this was only the beginning. A greater challenge loomed that he never anticipated. Each morning thereafter, Barron donned his apron and hustled into the diner. The job was unglamorous, yet for the first time, he earned his keep without relying on his famous name. Every day brought small victories: faster service, better memory for orders, smoother work. Each night he returned home tired but fulfilled, knowing that for once his achievements were solely his own. Then, unexpectedly, everything began to change. Barron started noticing the regulars at the cafe, students with big dreams, young people struggling to pay tuition, those desperate for opportunities in a cutthroat job market. Inspired, he began conversing with them, listening to their challenges, and then an idea sparked. What if this cafe could be more than a place for coffee? What if it could be a community hub where young minds supported each other? Boldly, Barron proposed a new initiative to Margaret. "What if we host weekend meetups, a space where people share experiences, connect, and support each other?" Margaret hesitated. "Do you really think that will make a difference?" Barron smiled confidently. "I don't know, but I do know that when people come together, real change begins." Soon, the cafe transformed. The first meetup had a handful of attendees. By the next, numbers doubled. Within a month, it became a beacon for local youth seeking inspiration and opportunities. Barron had rediscovered himself and sparked a movement. Failure was not final. It was the stepping stone to success. However, success attracted attention, and not all of it positive. One busy afternoon, as Barron hustled between tables, a customer's complaint shattered the rhythm. "Young man, where's my sauce?" In his rush, Barron had forgotten the sauce order. Chaos ensued, a collision with another server, a spilled bowl of soup, and a priceless coat ruined by a furious customer. The diner fell into stunned silence as the man bellowed, "Do you think sorry fixes this? How much is this coat worth?" The incident, captured by onlookers, spread quickly in the media. Headlines emerged. Barron Trump spotted working at a modest cafe. Is it a PR stunt or real struggle? Critics lambasted him, questioning whether he was merely playing the role of a commoner to garner sympathy. Social media buzzed with opinions. Some hailed his authenticity, others derided him as a fraud. That night, alone on a cold sidewalk, Barron scrolled through harsh comments and threats on his phone. Doubt crept in as he questioned whether he truly belonged in this unforgiving world. He recalled his father's admonition, "The real world won't always be kind." Yet, even as despair loomed, Barron resolved not to give up. He knew he needed to redefine his narrative and reclaim control of his own destiny. The following morning, Barron returned to the diner with a renewed approach. He offered to work for free, to learn every nuance of the job, determined to prove himself. By the end of the day, exhausted but resolute, he found himself staring at a sign in a corner coffee shop. "Help wanted, barista." With a deep breath, he entered. Behind the counter, a middle-aged woman named Margaret scrutinized him. "Do you have any experience making coffee?" she asked. Barron shook his head. "Then why should I hire you?" he countered. his voice steady. "Because I learn fast, I work hard, and I never give up." Margaret studied him for a long moment before finally agreeing. "1 week. Prove yourself, and you can stay." Over the next few days, Barron immersed himself in the craft, perfecting espresso shots, mastering frothy milk, and refining every detail. Despite early blunders, he improved steadily. By week's end, Margaret's approval was evident. "You've exceeded my expectations. Welcome aboard," she declared. For Barron, this achievement was monumental, not because of his name, but because he had earned it through his own sweat and persistence. Yet, as his personal triumph grew, the media began to take notice. Images of Barron working incognito in a modest cafe started circulating. Headlines emerged: "Barron Trump, from privilege to perseverance," and "The true face of self-made success." While some applauded his determination, others accused him of staging a publicity stunt. Rumors spread that his actions were merely an act designed to capture sympathy, a notion that wounded him deeply, as all he ever wanted was to be seen for who he truly was. The backlash intensified online. One day, a barrage of threats and insults flooded his social media. Doubt and despair gnawed at him as he questioned whether he truly belonged. Yet, with support from a few loyal friends, Alex, a street-smart companion, and even a few strangers who believed in his journey, Barron realized he had to take control of his own narrative. Late one night, Barron recorded a video message. Sitting before his modest laptop in his small Brooklyn apartment, he looked directly into the camera. "Hello everyone, my name is Barron Trump, and today I want to tell you the truth," he began, his voice steady and raw. "I didn't leave my family's world to seek attention. I left to find who I really am when the Trump name no longer opens doors for me." He spoke of his struggles, of being rejected, of the constant pressure of legacy, and of the pride in earning a living with his own hands. "I know some may think I'm playing a role, but those who have seen me work, fail, and rise again know that I'm sincere. I'm not doing this for recognition. I'm doing this because every person deserves a chance to define themselves." His simple, heartfelt message resonated, and within hours his video went viral, sparking debates, igniting hope, and even shifting the media's narrative. As the public's perspective began to change, Barron's story took an even larger turn. Invitations flooded in, from talk shows to global youth events. On stage at a major youth conference in New York City, Barron addressed hundreds of young faces. "For years I wondered if I had any worth beyond my name," he admitted. "But I learned that your worth isn't determined by where you come from. It's defined by the choices you make and the struggles you overcome." His words ignited thunderous applause, inspiring countless young people to believe in their own potential. Barron's defining moment came later that year when he was invited to speak at the Global Innovation Summit. Standing at the podium before world leaders, entrepreneurs, and activists, Barron looked out over the audience. "A year ago, I never imagined I'd be standing here," he began. "I was born into a legacy, raised in a world of constant scrutiny. But I chose to break free and walk my own path, even if it meant facing rejection and hardship. I learned that true strength lies not in the privileges you're born with, but in the courage to rise after every fall." His powerful speech resonated around the globe, transforming him from a boy defined by his lineage into a symbol of resilience and hope. In the aftermath, the world took notice. Media outlets that once ridiculed him now hailed his journey as a beacon for young people everywhere. Colleges, youth organizations, and entrepreneurs reached out, eager to hear more and collaborate on initiatives that empowered those from all walks of life. Barron's journey had sparked a movement, one that challenged the idea that your background must dictate your destiny. A few days later, as Barron returned to a modest coffee shop, the very place where his transformation had begun, the atmosphere was different. The shop's owner, Margaret, greeted him with a warm smile. "Welcome back, Baron. It seems you found your way." Baron laughed softly. "I never really left," he replied. Over coffee, they discussed his plans to create a platform for young people, a space for honest conversation and opportunity. "I want to help others break free from the confines of their past," he declared. "Not by following in someone else's footsteps, but by forging your own path." Margaret nodded in agreement, and soon a grassroots initiative called The Next Step was born. A community hub where young innovators could share ideas, learn new skills, and support one another. As Baron's influence grew, even the world's elite began to take note. At a private summit attended by global leaders and innovators, Donald Trump himself acknowledged Baron's courage. "My son has taken a path I never expected," Donald Trump remarked gravely. "And though it pains me to see him struggle, I must respect his decision to find his own way." Those words, laden with complex emotions, echoed in Baron's mind as he continued his journey, knowing that his struggle was both personal and a message to the world. In time, Baron became more than a media sensation. He became an inspiration. His story, from a boy trapped by legacy to a young man who dared to seek the truth about himself, transformed perceptions worldwide. People began to understand that one's worth isn't defined by a famous name, but by the courage to challenge the status quo and build something new from the ashes of failure. As Baron stepped onto the stage at the United Nations Innovation Forum, an event now dedicated to empowering youth worldwide, the room was hushed in anticipation. Baron's eyes swept over the crowd of diplomats, activists, and young leaders. "I stand here today not as the son of a famous man, but as someone who has fought against the odds to define his own path," he began. "Every setback, every rejection, every harsh word has only made me more determined to prove that our future is not dictated by our past, but by the choices we make in the face of adversity." His speech was raw, honest, and transformative, leaving the audience inspired to question their own limitations and strive for true independence. As the echoes of his words faded, the crowd erupted in applause. The message was clear. You are not defined by your background, your wealth, or your name. You are defined by your determination, your ability to rise after every fall, and your commitment to forge your own destiny. If you've ever felt trapped by expectations or weighed down by a legacy that wasn't yours to carry, remember Baron's journey. It is a testament to the power of self-discovery and the strength found in overcoming failure. No matter where you come from, you have the right to choose your own path and redefine your own life. Thank you for joining this journey. If Baron's story has inspired you, please like, share, and subscribe so that more people can discover the power of forging their own destiny. And most importantly, we want to hear from you. What does freedom mean to you? What challenges have you overcome in your own journey? Share your story in the comments below. Your voice might just spark the change someone else needs. Disclaimer: this story is a work of fiction, inspired by creative storytelling, and does not depict the real-life experiences of Baron Trump or any other individuals. It is created for inspiration, entertainment, and thought-provoking discussion, not for political purposes or to promote any particular viewpoint. Stay tuned for more inspiring stories. See you in the next video.